Hi, everybody. I'm Deneen Garrett, the creator and founder of the An Intimate Conversation with Women of Color podcast, which is sponsored by Deneen Consults. This podcast was created to provide women of color a platform to use our voices. So thank you so much for stopping by and enjoy today's episode. Welcome to another episode of An Intimate Conversation with Women of Color. I am your host, Deneen Garrett, and whether you're tapping in from YouTube or from your favorite podcast platform, we appreciate you for checking in. Make sure to continue to come back and watch and listen. Definitely share and subscribe. I also want to shout out my top 4 international listeners are tuning in from Germany, Slovakia, Pakistan, and Barbados. So I'm going to say is Rihanna checking in from Barbados. So that's what I'm going to say. That's what I'm going to stick with. But today's guest is Therese Myers. She is an author, founder of Yesgirlscreate, owner of Brand New Vue. She is also a wife, mother, mentor, author, an all-around creative woman. Therese, what else do you want the audience to know about you?
Well, I will say thank you so much for having me here today. It is awesome all the time just to be able to be in conversation, talking about our life's works and the things that we do. And hopefully, when we leave this conversation today, there will be people who are inspired to just continue to dream at every age. What I will say about myself is that I absolutely love, love, love creating win situations. And what's most dearest to me absolutely is being in that space with our young women of our society. And I will say that it's probably because I have 3 daughters. And I want to say that the Yesgirlscreate was created absolutely out of that. And I think it was someplace deep down in my spirit that it was created. And I will say that it shows up every day, that mentorship. I don't even like to call it mentorship. I just like it to call it a way of being in a sense. So I will tell your audience that anything you need to know about me is I am a huge dreamer and creator of new opportunities on all levels.
I love that. And did you say creative win situations?
Yes, to be able to create win-win, right? So I want you to win, you want me to win, and guess what? It becomes a whole contagious cycle of co-creating, winning on all levels, and the ability to seek success in others, right? Because if I can see it in you, that means I should be able to see it in myself, and we start working in partnership with that. And I think the ability to mentor people, to be sponsors to individual, whether it's personally or professionally or in our communities in terms of where we live, it creates a sense of bonding and community and almost a contagious feel. I want to tap someone in.
I like that contagious tapping somebody in. That sounds amazing. So thank you for sharing that. So tell us about the inception of Brand New Vue LLC. And you already touched a little bit on, your daughters were kind of like the inspiration for Yesgirlscreate, but tell us more about both, how they came about.
Well, I'll tell you, for Yesgirlscreate, really it was created somewhere in the back of my mind. I went to a transformational leadership course about 3 or 4 years ago, and the moderator had a real quick, fast question to say, what are you going to be doing in 1 year from today, right? And in my 1 year from today, who knew what this would look like and what it would be? What I found that it was is that I was going to create a girls group called Yesgirlscreate. I didn't know how, when, or why, but all of a sudden it just evolved into this next great thing that has, touched the community that I'm in, has touched the society, with the pandemic in all places of the world that I probably would not have even imagined. So Yesgirlscreate was created just from a thought, something that was deep down in my spirit, and literally I spoke it into existence, and here we are today. Brand New Vue is actually a professional personal branding company that really I'm about creating these spaces where we can dream out loud, helping women, men, young adults find their why. And what does that why look like? Why am I here? Why why do I love crafting? Why do I love sewing? And then how can we take that to the next level? And that next level looks very different for everyone. And it's about creating a brand new view for you personally. Sometimes it may be how we show up in our organizations in terms of the coaching, removing, narratives we have for ourselves, or it's taking the gift that we have already and really developing it to a point where sometimes we can monetize it. Sometimes we connect with someone else in our community to help develop it further. Or guess what? Sometimes it could just mean being a gift to myself in that space. So create a brand new view so that really we could show up differently in the world.
I like that. And so when you answered the question, you came up with what you wanted to do in a year and you kind of backed into it, right? So you knew that you
Yeah.
wanted to do something for girls and then you walked towards that. And then a beautiful thing is with Brand New Vue, you're helping others to find their why so they can do the same exact thing. And I was going to ask you, how do they intersect? So for me, I noticed that as an intersection, that the why or where you're trying to get to is very important. Are there other ways that you feel both intersect?
I definitely do. I think from a space of just creating communities, the community of the young women, young adults, that's a community. The community of the individuals who come in and volunteer at Yesgirlscreate. And then the community within Brand New Vue of, sometimes it's brainstorming, sometimes it's connection of meeting women in ways that probably sometimes, particularly as women, we don't like to meet new friends sometimes. So sometimes it means that our professions will bring us together. So whether you're a photographer or there's someone out there who is a writer and I could connect you with someone who's an editor, sometimes it's things that you think like, oh, this isn't a gift, right? So we're creating these mini communities that help branch us out into much larger communities that ultimately help bring us to our gift in a greater way.
I love all of that. And that's pretty much what I've done as well through the Intimate Conversation with Women of Color podcast, created a community because it actually started as a panel. So it was a panel that I had created for a work event and I had moderated the panel for 3 years in a row. And then I decided in 2020, to turn it into a podcast. In
I love that.
Yeah. In addition, I created a Facebook community and it's about the sisterhood. And so when you said it's hard or nobody wants to make friends, I'm like, no, I want friends. Like I'm at a point in my life now where I want that community. I want that sisterhood. Now, maybe 5 years ago, I didn't feel the same exact way. But now I'm really seeing the importance of doing it, not going along alone, but being with other people in that community. So good for you for, instilling that in the young girls and the young adults now so that they can build off of. So I'm sure that you're running into girls and young women who they haven't tapped into the power of into their power or their voice. What 3 actions will help them to own both?
The first thing is, I think self-awareness is really the key. Being aware of what your greatness is, understanding that you have to be your first champion. And that champion is going to be the one who really tells you, hey, you could do it, right? So the self-awareness of understanding what that is, and sometimes it may mean turn off that 8-track in your head.
That 8-track. So for those who are wondering, what did Therese say? What is she talking about? She's talking about, let's see, 8-track, let's see, yes. A record,
a DVD, a CD.
She's talking about streaming.
Yes, turn off those streaming messages that are in your head telling you to go a direction that kind of intuitively you shouldn't go, right? It's the first thing is that self-awareness. And the second thing is really listen to your heart. Find out what is driving you, what is making your heart beat, what's keeping you up at night, what do you really love outside of peer pressure, right? Because we see all these things that come at you fast and furious that will almost have you not know what you love. And hopefully that it will, you can diminish those voices and really learn to listen to your own mind and body to know what you really like. And I think lastly is surround yourself with people who are going to empower you, even at a very young age. And I'll tell you, I went to an all-girls high school and those same girls are the same girls. See, it's possible. It's possible. My kids now will be like, what? But those are my same friends. Those are literally my same friends. I worked with one for, 30 years. We went to literally seventh, eighth grade. People say, how do you have so many friends? It's not that I have a lot of friends. I've had these friends forever. There's, and I make new friends in some spaces, depending on, where the circle is. But I do rely heavily on my vibration. Like, trust your gut. Like, know what feels right to you and it's genuine. And I tell people all the time, sometimes people say, I'm a lot, and it's like a cup of coffee. You could take it or you can leave it, right? But, but that's okay. I'm okay with that, and it's not to feel that I need to be in any particular space or anyone needs to be in this space. But, young people, no matter who you are, trust your gut in that. Know yourself, surround yourself with positive people, trust your gut, trust yourself, and just really try to be in a space that, you are nourished. If you have an idea and someone can tell you how it's going to work, right? Affirm me, and then perhaps give feedback, perhaps share something different to make it grow better, not just shoot you down. If you got somebody that's shooting you down all the time, maybe that's a moment where we have to pause and say, okay, maybe this isn't, the right space for me to be in.
Absolutely, absolutely. That reflecting on that, and it's I think it's a Nina Simone song about when love is no longer serving you, get up from the table, keep moving. So yeah, if that person is not affirming you, if they're tearing you down, more so than it's time to get up from that table. So to pivot a bit, I honor my late sister, author and poet Soul True, by asking about dreams deferred, which is the title of one of her books. Please share a dream deferred moment.
Dream, oh wow, that gives me goosebumps, right? I remember getting my first job out of high school, and I've been so fortunate to work in industries, and I've always had a job, but I never really went back to college. So I wanted to, but then I was the oldest of three, and my family was like, oh, okay. Then I was like, I got a job, so I'm good. It was a different day and age than it is now. Fast forward to 46, and I was like, I really want to do this, right? I've always loved branding and marketing, and I know that certain things I just love and like I innately enjoy it, right? And then one day I said, I'm going to take a class, just, no pressure, right? Because it was that little voice in my head, probably kind of telling me I couldn't do it at this age, at this stage of my life, and little by little, one class turned into 64, and I got my bachelor's, right? That's a dream deferred.
Congrats.
Right? Yes, yes. And then guess what? I was like, oh, I like that so much. Maybe I could do my master's. I'm looking around, and again, these little voices are talking to me saying, can you do that at 49? Right? Like, who does that? Right? Yeah. What are you going to do with this when you get it? But again, I'm still pushing those dreams down. And then one day I said, I'm going to just do this. It was the pandemic, right? My mom was ill with stage 4 cancer. And I was like, when I started it, I didn't know that. And then fast forward, life starts lifing. And guess what? 6 months later, I graduated with my master's. Okay. And yeah, like it's powerful to say that at any age. And I know people hear that, how can you do it? Why do you do it? And it has to be something you want to do. And not because I want to tell people. A lot of people didn't even know until afterwards. Like, what? When did you do that? Because it was something in me, my dream. It wasn't deferred. It was just delayed, right? And it was at the time that I know it fulfilled me the most. And it is so fulfilling. And I tell my kids that you may not want to go back for 2 degrees, 3 degrees, or whatever it is. But when you're ready to make that choice to do it for yourself, that you want to do it, that you want to contribute to whatever your future looks like. Yeah. And do it in something that you love. Like, don't just feel like you got to go back now and do it, And I will tell you that I've had such wonderful supporters in the space, but a lot of times I had to be that supporter. Right. And it could be because I put that on myself, because I totally didn't tell anyone about it. I just was like, I'm just taking a little class. I'm just doing this, fast forward. I'm like, oh yeah, paper came in the mail. I got my bachelor's. What? So, but maybe for me, right. Again, that's that 8-track, that streaming that was in my head, kind of telling me maybe I couldn't do it. And it wasn't until I saw that I could, that I realized that there was something about my perspective about myself that has shifted, that what I put my mind to, I'm going to do. It may take me a little longer. I may have to work a little harder, but you're not, one of a young lady I was speaking to was saying something, but you're not going to outwork me, right? And I am going to do what I do bold and beautiful and with love and with passion, and impact people with these dreams that I had been deferring for, a bit of time.
Yeah, and so before I even ask, but so how is your mom?
Oh, she passed. She
Okay.
passed it literally. Yeah, she had to pass. So it was a tough time, you know. And I think I was not thinking about it in that moment. But I said maybe that was what gave me the energy to push past that in that space, right? Like that was my way of, we were literally in the middle of the pandemic, right? So
Mhm.
we're at home. My mom is sick. We can't go into a hospital with her. So I'm head down into doing stuff. That's why I tell people, don't tell me what you can't do, because when you put your mind to do something, you can do it.
Yeah,
So, and I'm very much that person of, I don't even want to hear that as an excuse. Like, unless you're physically unable to do something, your mind is a strong thing.
no,
It's what we're saying to ourselves. What are we saying to ourselves, and what are we not saying to ourselves that will allow us to push past, adversities and things that are, sitting on us, potentially wanting to hold us down.
yeah, and you know what? And so key, what you just said is it's us. It's the thoughts that we have. It's what we're telling ourselves that we can and cannot
Yeah.
do. Because the
Mhm.
mind is going to go and it's going to respond to
Mhm.
you. You say you can't, it's going to deliver. You can, it's going to work to make that happen for you. So what would you really say was your strongest why to go ahead and get the first and or second degree? What was the real catalyst? What was really pushing you? Like, what was your motivation?
Honestly, I want to say it had to really be because I knew I wanted to show up differently. I
Mm,
did not, I am in an organization, and I felt like for me that was holding me back. Now it could have been totally a story I was telling myself, but I felt like it allowed me really to show up differently, and perhaps it boosted my self-esteem. And I had my children, who I wanted them to be able to see this. And
mhm.
in all honesty, when I got my degree, they said, "We didn't even know you didn't have one."
We just, right,
I just
exactly. You're moving through corporate, so who
yes.
knew?
So, but for me, it really was because it was just a true self motivator in that space. I wanted the knowledge in these spaces that I knew that I really genuinely loved. And I
Mhm.
knew that I could rock in any forum, whether I worked for another organization or for myself. And it just was it was self fulfilling. No one has really asked me that question, but it is still self fulfilling in that, just thinking about that.
That's good. And so another thing that you mentioned, and I want to make sure to drive this home for those who are watching or listening, is that no time, no timetable, right?
No.
If,
Mhm.
like you didn't go and jump into it right after college, you did it what, 20 plus years later, but you
Yeah.
did. And that's what
Mhm.
matters. The key is if you want to do something, the finish line is it, regardless of how long that journey takes, how long it takes you to get there. It doesn't really matter. It's what you actually accomplish for yourself.
Yes, yeah, and sometimes I look back and I see PhD sitting with them letters dancing around like the
Uh-oh.
like alphabet soup, right? And sometimes I have, do you really want to do that? Like, what you gonna do with that? Like, what is that about? It's a little bit of a itchy feel, and but again, like there's no time frame. I don't have to feel, but I know once I put my mind to do it, I am going to be so dedicated on it. So I don't want to do it halfway, but I
Right.
do want to do it. So I want to make sure that I'm totally present and ready for, the task that it, is undertaking. I have some friends that's pursuing theirs, and I'm like, okay, let me see how you do with yours first, and then come in and do it afterwards.
And and along with that, though, as far as the time and how a lot of people put those boxes on themselves. And so when, I want this by 30 and then it doesn't happen,
Mhm.
then you're devastated. So
Mhm.
a woman that I know, she has a PhD, and this is really what made me think about it, but she has her PhD. She's been years retired from the education system, but kept it moving, different businesses, she's still moving. Older woman, and she just crossed in a sorority,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And so, I was talking to her about it, and she was like, I thought I was going to be the oldest one there, and she wasn't. So
No, I could,
the
right.
point
Yes.
is, as long as you're breathing, whatever that
Mhm.
thing is that you want to do or accomplish, you can. It's
Yes.
all a matter of you saying
Yeah.
yes to yourself to make that thing happen.
I read something the other day. It said, "Don't let life rush you."
Mm,
Right? Don't let life rush you. We sit back as sisters, brothers, wives, children of a greater space, and we are in a rush for everything. I have a daughter that's a senior in college, and I gotta.
mhm,
Wait. What is the rush, right?
mhm.
Like, and then sometimes I say, wait, am I presenting that they feel like they have to rush also? But then I was thinking, like, I had to post that. Don't let life rush you, right? you are where you're supposed to be. Like we are where we're supposed to be at this point in time, in this space. And me allow, getting these external voices to rush me into something that's not necessarily what's according to my destiny, right? Sometimes deters you from what your destiny is.
Yes.
Right. So don't let life rush you. Like know that what's for you. Some of the best things that happened to me are the things that didn't happen to me. I say it every day.
Right.
It's like, yeah. It's a real thing. It's a real thing.
Repeat that. Say that again. One more again.
Some of the best things that have happened to me are some of the best things that didn't happen to me. Right. And you don't see it in a moment. And then afterwards, you're just like, oh my goodness.
Yes.
I'm
Thank you.
glad. I'm so glad that did happen,
Absolutely.
So it's definitely something to, I think that's the older head of me talking about don't let life rush you. It's okay when it doesn't happen for you at this time. And, it's deferred, delayed. And I gotta be okay with it. Sometimes it's a struggle, it's not always easy. People think it's easy, but it's not, but you have to really release that need to control the outcome at every step that we take, and it makes a difference in the end. It makes a difference in the end.
It is. And it's something that it is hard, like you said, and it's something that we have to practice because we're so used to go, 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 go. So don't let life rush you. Is that something that you're instilling in the young adults and the girls? Are you instilling in them now?
You know what? Yes. And I want to say I most recently had experienced that phrase. But when I think back on it, I have always said we are where we're supposed to be, right? You have to know it, that this is where you're supposed to be at this time. And even sometimes I even doubt that myself. And then I'll get a little bitty, message that will say, you're right. You're where you're supposed to be. You don't feel rushed. Don't feel this. Don't feel that. This is where you're supposed to be. So I'm grateful in that space of being able to listen to the little voices, calm down, slow down, and just
be present. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Guilty, not guilty.
I know, and me too. And it's like I'm just kind of like getting there. And this past summer, I kind of like was doing that, like I'm not on a clock, I'm not on any of that. I'm just la la la, and trying to put the phone down or being away from the phone more often, right? It's definitely a chore. It takes practice and exercise and will. But I was watching Boomerang, so the series just recently, like I'm just now watching the series and I think it came out maybe in 2019. Anyway, so the one woman, one of the characters, she was on a plane headed to Paris. And so she's on her phone, taking pictures, trying to make sure she has the perfect spot, putting it on Instagram. And it was something, Kelly Rowland. So something about Kelly Rowland. And she said, oh my God, that's my favorite. But before they even got to Kelly Rowland, but she's just looking and posting, right? And she's not aware of what's going on around her. It was this fine man trying to get her attention. She missed all of that. Then next thing, guess what happened? Kelly Rowland showed up. She showed up and was like seats away from her and kind of trying to get her attention as well. She missed all of that.
Missed all of it.
Yeah, she was not present. And so getting to Paris, she kind of like pulled back, like, they never brought it back up as to whether or not she ever saw the man and saw Kelly. But in Paris, she learned to like, you know what? Let me fall back and actually be present and enjoy the moment. And so that's just something that I wanted to share. We miss out on so much when we're not present. Life passes us by. We're talking about don't let life rush you. Don't let it pass you by either. So right?
Guilty. And I think, when I was 20, I thought I was gonna be 20 forever. And then now I'm like, oh, wait a second, those went fast. Wait a second. Everything ain't gonna stay the same, so we didn't even have so much stimulation from a space of technology at that point in time. So even now, you're right about the being present. Guilty. I'm so guilty of it. And sometimes I have to literally pause. Like I have to literally look at the sunrises. I have to look at the sunsets. I have to be still in the moment of just, being in awe of all of these mercies around me, because yes, we know it's not promised, but sometimes we just look around and we don't realize how far it is, how fleeting the moments are in those spaces. And, we'll be left in a state of feeling melancholy if we're not careful, right? And then that takes us over sometimes. So
Mhm.
I am totally guilty of that. And, I work on that every day of being present,
Yeah.
and I think in present for myself,
Mhm.
right? And present for, my husband and my children and the people that I love. Like I'm the person that's going to send you a message. Hey, just thinking about you, and people do it to me also. So I can't say that, but it's just like, I want to be present. Like,
Mhm.
I want to be remembered that I remembered you, that I want to be remembered that I remembered,
Yeah.
right? Yes. So it's,
Right.
it's interesting.
Absolutely. So again, whether you're watching or listening, we want you to be present. We want you to be in the moment. We want you to enjoy everything that life has to offer. Don't let life rush you, and don't let it pass you by either. So before we wrap, Therese, 2022 has been a year of living a dream lifestyle for me. As someone who lives her life on purpose, what does living a dream lifestyle mean to you? And how are you living a dream lifestyle other than what you've already shared?
For me, I think again, it's taking each day and being really intentional.
Mhm.
What are these goals that I'm setting? Is it impacting? It's removing myself as being in service in certain spaces. It's being super intentional in the spaces and listening to what, everyone believes something different, what the spirit is telling me about what I should be doing next. And understanding that sometimes some things come to an end, and being okay with that, so that something else new can come into my space. 2022, we're going to blink and it's going to be gone. And what I don't want to do is wake up and be like, oh, I wish I would have did this in 22, right? But I want to say that, oh, I did this in 2022, and
Mm.
know that 23 is going to be even grander. If I did one thing in 22, I want it to be memorable for me in the space that it created a milestone. It impacted lives. I've stepped out on the skinny branch and I did some things that I would not have thought I would have probably ever did. And I have met new people who are inspiring me in different kind of ways, that hopefully I'm inspiring in some kind of way. And, hopefully my children will see that they could do it also. My husband probably says that I do too much, but I hope that, yeah, he's like, take a break, right? But I think that it's, for me, it's about, 2022. I want to say that I took some time and I watched sunrises and sunsets, and that I spent time with people that I loved and I laughed hard. And, really that hopefully 2022 won't owe me anything,
Yeah.
right? It sounds so final, but it's not, but I want to say that I lived it to the fullest and to the best of my ability.
No,
Other
that's
than exercise,
right.
I still got some time for that.
Right. No, that's beautiful. And for you to say, I want to be able to say I did this, as opposed to, oh, I wish I had. No, I did. This is what I did in 2022. And that's a beautiful thing. So before we say goodbye, what would you like to leave the audience with?
I would like to leave them with the moment that we live on purpose, right? That we create a brand new view, that we inspire our young people. Don't give up. Don't give up on yourself. Don't give up on your dreams. If you need your why, let me help you. But guess what? Find out what that is first. Hear that voice. Don't diminish what that voice is saying to you. And understand that whatever you have sitting on your heart is there for a reason. You may not have thought about it today or yesterday, but if it keeps coming at you over and over in some kind of way, whether it's when you pass a bus stop or you read a book, think about it, right? Take your time and journal. I'm a big journaler. Write it down. Write it down for yourself so you can come back and look at that. And don't worry about apologizing, right? It's about intentionality and knowing that wherever you are, just start, right? Wherever you are, just start.
That's beautiful. Therese Myers, I so appreciate your time and your
Thank
grace.
you.
And again,
Thank you.
you're welcome. And for those who are watching on YouTube or listening on your favorite podcast platform, thank you. Please continue to do so. Subscribe, share, help us elevate the voices of women of color. And in order to do that, we have to reach them. So thank you. Until next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
You're welcome.